His book's in German. His book's in
I
German.
don't know.
We're gonna find
Well,
out soon. So,
Okay.
Lutra,
Yeah.
thank you for sending this. I'm showing like this so no one sees you're on my address. Okay. So, it's unwrapping, unpacking. So, I
Can you get
would...
drum roll, Rohan?
Also,
Yeah.
Kryptowährung und der dezentrale Finanzmarkt. So yes,
Yeah.
it is in
Wow.
German. It is not
Yeah.
readable for you guys, but it's readable
No.
for me.
Yeah, I know. He, because I said I'd just buy it, right? Because I said I'll just get the English version. Because he said I'll send you one. I'm like, no, it's okay. I'll get but there's no English version. So I'm like, okay. That's amazing, Lutra.
Thank
Is
you,
that?
Lutra.
Oh, that's
Pancakes.
Bitcoin
A
on
lot
a
of pancakes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pancake, right?
it's Bitcoin pancakes.
I know, but it looks like
Oh, I
pancakes
love
with
it.
syrup on it. It looks like pancakes with,
Love
and
it.
he's cooking the pancake syrup.
I'm
So what we're
curious
doing-
how that will connect. But he is explaining a lot of the... Oh, he's giving financial advice. Oh, no, we have to tell him. But
He must have written something, right? Like,
yeah,
this
but
is not pancake.
this is really great. He talks about stable coins, centralized exchanges, blockchains, wallets, coins, and tokens. So he starts off with like a lot of topics that are interesting, I think, for a lot of people, until he then, emerges to like decentralized finance and exchanges, dApps, right? Mining and staking, liquidity protocols, and then how to analyze stuff.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay.
Lutra, why are you even here? You know all of
Yeah,
this.
he
What
should
the
be
fuck?
teaching us.
He's not here. He's like,
Hello.
I already know this. People, I'm out.
I think
He learned from us and he's out now. He's like,
And he got out.
I think he gets sick of us talking about Python, but there is one more day here to talk about Python before actually Rohan suggested we just move on into chapter 5. So oh no! Oh no, you're joining now? Come on,
We
dude.
we were just talking of the devil, and the devil appears.
Hi, can you hear me?
yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you. Can you see us?
All right. Yeah! Oh, it arrived!
It did arrive.
Yeah,
Thank
my
you
book
so
arrived.
much. This
You're
is
very
so cool.
welcome.
I'm just saying. You wrote something in here.
I wrote something for you, yes.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
Hi, good to see you guys.
Hello.
I have
And
to
congrats on
introduce
the book.
myself because
Congratulations.
right now I'm in South Tyrol, Italy, joining a conference,
Oh wow.
and I just have 10 minutes for our group because in half an hour I have to give my presentation, and it's about
God.
DAOs and the private production of public goods.
Wow, this is
that's
amazing,
amazing.
Lutra. Congratulations.
actually-
You should have told us
the
sooner this is
presentation will
happening.
be in German. The paper is also in German, but I will make a shorter English part of it and give it back to the study group.
Oh my
And,
god, that's amazing.
Amazing. That'd
Yeah,
be so
the
amazing.
idea is in public finance theory, we have this discussion about public goods, non-rivalry, non-excludability, and I make a connection. Our beloved crypto space, right? And putting it together with economic theory and the thinking. So that will be my topic in 15 minutes.
So
Best of luck. Best of
exciting.
luck. Also, by the way, I'm very interested in that topic, so I really would love to hear your
Yeah,
thoughts.
yeah. Really,
Lutra.
believe me, I had to work, now on the German version, but give me 1 or 1.5 weeks, and I will make a shorter English version of it, joining with you, of course.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You can
Are you
honestly
still recording?
go.
Are you still recording or no?
Oh, I'm recording, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just pause it for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please.
Wait. Recording
Yeah,
again.
that's great. Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't like that sort of stuff. I don't want it.
No,
Okay.
that makes a lot of sense. Don't worry. You can always ask me to. Okay,
Yeah.
so I already warned Rohan I have two very specific questions. If you don't mind, I would
No
just
problem.
we
Questions in
just
mind.
jump in like crazy people. We
Are you sharing your screen? Yeah?
No, but I will share it in a sec. Let me
And
see.
Ro, maybe like one of the questions, if we have time, we can even look at one of the questions that I had sent that I wanted to go over with you later.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
no rush. Like, I'm done. I cannot figure it out, so I just need you to help solve.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I
I
think we
solved one
have
of them.
enough
Yeah,
time for
Hmm.
that. Okay, so I made my notes. So I made two notes. No, this is not the note. This is the note. So I finally arrived at part 4. Don't scrutinize me. And so I'm just reloading, and then we can
Miro
connect.
that you're using?
And I made my own little notebook, and I felt actually
Okay.
very proud of it, right?
Wow.
Even though it was just like copy pasting essentially
and
from
you-
Andrew.
It's also given like proper titles, like text boxes.
Yeah,
Nice.
everything. So it's easy to reference with this little guide here to the right. Okay. So my first question was like, how do you always run all the code boxes at once?
So I use, is there run all not an option on top? There should be, right? Or no? I mean, the way I do it is I click on a text box and I press shift and enter.
Okay. So shift.
And then it just, yeah, and then it moves to the next one. So you keep pressing shift enter, so you keep on running all of them. Yeah, just keep pressing it. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Ah, my goodness. Okay. So yes, you see, so far everything works good, right? And then
Yeah.
it gets to this one, and then it's just like,
Right. Okay. So
what's happening?
the first thing that you notice in all that jumble is the last line. Last line usually tells you what's wrong. It says key error R2,
Yeah.
right? So somewhere R2 that you've written is not running. And from what I can see, it's that everywhere you've defined R underscore 2, right? Like
Yeah.
if you look at remove liquidity, there's R underscore 1, R underscore 2. So somewhere we've written R2, which shouldn't be there. So you'll have to search your document for R2, and it mostly will be in the function that's red, underlined red. So swap to asset 2 is underlined red, right? That's where the error came. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
So
one.
we have to go to where the function was defined, which
So
is
it
on
says-
top.
Okay.
No, we'll just scroll up. We'll scroll up to where it was defined. Like there'll be a defined swap to asset 2. Even on top more. Yeah.
Oh, swap to
Okay,
asset
yeah.
2 function. This one.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
it-
here with R1, R2, yeah, we have to put underscores at least.
Andrew, what the fuck?
So that's why I wrote my own code. Like that's why initially whole document that I made, I wrote my own code because this R1, R2 issue was there everywhere.
Okay, still.
Oh no, but you'll have to rerun it. You'll have to rerun it. The swap to asset 2 has to be rerun like on top.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Also, we will encounter the same problem with R1, won't we?
Yeah, we will.
Oh no.
But if you look at the statement DA2 is equal to state AMM underscore 2, because R2 came first, it showed the first error. Now next when you do it again, it'll show
Yeah.
R1.
Got you. That will cause the next one, so I might just as well fix this now. Okay. I'm sorry. Can I just quickly fix this
Also,
up? Yeah.
also, I see that error also coming up in Genesis state.
Oh, you're right. Fuck.
So we can find all, Control F, find all, and convert all R1 to R underscore 1 or something.
Oh, really?
That should be okay. It's not there here, but usually text documents have those.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's an edit. Is it an edit on the file menu? Yeah, find and replace. Yeah, and you can find R1 and replace with R underscore 1, I think.
Oh, so much cooler. Okay.
And let's replace all, I think. Right below it, yeah.
And then we do this with R2.
Yeah. Well, maybe it happened. I don't know. Let's rerun everything and see if it's running. Did it run? Yeah, it looks maybe.
Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah. So rerun everything, so just to make sure.
Okay. So again, I just go
Shift enter,
here.
shift enter. Yeah. Yeah, so but that's how you debug. You look at which function was underlined. Yeah, it ran.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Shift plus enter. Okay. Okay, cool. So you already answered actually 2 questions because I wanted to know the. Okay, so this was the next question. The next
Yeah.
question was, like, I don't understand the action list. I think I don't understand
Yeah.
what it's supposed to really do.
Right, but if you look at the error, it says syntax error,
Yeah.
unexpected EOF while passing. EOF generally, I mean, I don't know what the full form is, but whenever I've encountered, it means there's one bracket missing somewhere. Like the list isn't completely shut yet. And if
Maybe it's the
no
comma. Oh, it's definitely
No.
the bracket.
Yeah, the initial bracket is not closed. If you look at the first bracket, it's underlined. So you need to close it at the bottom.
Like so.
No, close the bracket. So the there's an open bracket, there's a closed bracket, right? So the closed bracket is missing.
Oh, okay, I got you. Sorry, like this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Let's try. Yeah.
Okay, and for me to understand, the action list is supposed to. I think I have a problem understanding the difference between the evolve function and the action list. I think I don't understand why this is not one thing.
Right.
Because
Right,
I
so
understand the action list just means like, okay, I want to remove liquidity, I want to add liquidity, then I want to remove, then I want to add 3 times liquidity, stuff like this.
Yeah.
But then
Correct.
why doesn't
Yeah.
the action list already like run it?
Yeah.
Why do we need an
Because,
evolve function to run it?
Good question. Because that is a good question. Because so the logic here is that we've written an evolve function which will take any kind of action list and it will take the current state and then end up and give us the history. If you look at what the evolve function does, it returns the history, right? So when you try to now, let's say, let's use evolve. Say evolve, like type evolve, then open a bracket like this round 1, and then give the genesis state. So type genesis, and then comma, action list. So you're passing action list and the genesis state to the evolve function. And I think you might not have to put that space in the middle between evolve and the brackets. I don't think that's how it runs. So evolve, no, remove the space, but evolve, the first space that you have on the line. Yeah, that one, yeah.
I leave this one?
Yeah, it's okay. That one works. And now if you run it, list out of range. And it says that something on the 6th line went wrong. So when it in add, so if you look at the error, it says index error, list index out of range, and it is in the add liquidity function. Do you see that? So first, if you look at it from the top, right, like the error, it says index error, then it says something happened in evolve function. Then if you go lower and then you look at where the pointer is, it says on the 6th line, something went wrong here. And it says what went wrong was list index out of range. So the list that we passed apparently shouldn't have had, yeah. So actually you can see that. Inputs, if you look at the line, it says inputs 1 and then inputs 2 at the end of the line. Inputs 2.
Yeah.
But in the action list, we actually have only 0 and 1, right? Like if you go down, and type
Oh.
action list,
You're right.
yeah.
So
So 0 and 1 would be the thing.
we should put this to 0 and 1.
No, something deeper is going wrong. Inputs 1. What is inputs again? We'll have to
Inputs
go
are
up
the
and see what-
agents, no?
Yeah, but so let's go to add liquidity. Liquidity, yeah, there. So agents is input 0. Input 1 and input 2. Have we defined inputs anywhere in general? Like, no, right? We've not used it in. Can you go lower? Like, have we used it in this code yet? Oh, we have. See, trader, comma 10. In the 14th, like above.
Here, yeah.
Yeah, swap to asset 2, Genesis, trader, comma 10. So that is the inputs that we're giving. So it should have 0 and 1 only. Why is this running at all? I'm so confused. Oh, because it's swap to asset 2. Okay.
Yeah.
So apparently add liquidity needs 3 inputs. Why would add liquidity need 3 inputs? Let's think. Can you look at the add liquidity function? Yeah. Do you see why I'm thinking about it that way? Because when you look at the code, where it showed that error, it said DA1 is equal to min bracket input 1,
Yeah.
then R1 by R2 input 2. So that input 2 is where something went wrong. Like apparently inputs as a list doesn't have 3 things, while we are expecting it to have 3 things.
But we are not asking it to return to us 3, no? Like if we go down here, we are only asking for 2 things.
Yeah, we're asking for 2 things, but if you're passing a list to a function which has only 2 elements, and then you ask it, try to use the 3rd element in a calculation, the 3rd element doesn't exist. So it's showing an error. So we have to figure out first what the input is. So one way we can do this actually, and it's a smart way to do it, is if we go back to the, and this is how you debug actually in Python, you go up to the, again, where things were going wrong, swap to asset 2, right? I think is what we were doing.
No,
Or was it?
You mean where things
Oh,
went wrong? Let's add liquidity.
So let's, before DA1, add a line, like press enter before DA1, yeah. And do print bracket inputs.
Print?
So let's print bracket and inputs inside the bracket. So let's print the inputs and see what is the function even getting. So now let's run this and then run everything below it. So before the error, this thing should be printed because clearly the print is coming before the error as far as we know. So it'll print, yeah, LP comma 5, see? So LP comma 5 is what inputs is.
Wait, where are you seeing this?
The first line itself of the error. Before the index error. Yeah. Yeah. So it printed something and then it showed an error. So like, because it tried to do something on DA1 and then DA1 said that, hey, inputs doesn't even have like 3 elements. 0, 1, 2, right? Like so 3 elements.
Is this because I haven't really like done anything on this? Because this is just copy paste from this one because I really didn't understand how to translate this.
See, my logic is I think something's wrong with the code, and unless do we need to in order to add liquidity I think when we're adding liquidity we need to add 2 assets, right? You need to add liquidity on both assets maybe.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what the code is doing. If we go back to the add liquidity function, the way he's defined it, add liquidity, yeah. I think what he's doing is, okay, what does inputs do? That's the thing. Why isn't it 0 and 1? 0 is trader, so 1 and 2. So I think what inputs should be 2 numbers. So the way we could fix it, if we go all the way down, is let's give 2 numbers.
I think it's 1 and 2 because the AMM is 0, right? And then there's trader and liquidity provider.
No. So let's
that
go
right?
down. You'll notice what inputs for sprinters was LP comma phi, right? So
Yeah.
if you just go to the action list,
Yeah, that's this one.
yeah, and in all three brackets add comma 5, let's say. Just add
Yeah.
another number, and I think that will run. Like next to the 5, add another element called 5, or like 4 or whatever you want. Yeah. Yeah. I think what the function should be doing, and it's a mistake in the code, it should be taking both assets. Yeah, now let's run both. It should run now. Yeah, it ran.
Ah, got you.
Expecting two assets, asset A and asset B.
What was that like? Can you just tell me like what was the error? What was the issue that you to resolve it? That you just did
Yeah.
that last bit?
Right. So what I realized is first I went to that function. I first found out where the error was, right? Like it showed us an arrow, green arrow, and it said that DA1 had an error. So if we highlight DA1, Stella, yeah. So and the error that it said to us earlier was that index out of range. So
Okay.
something on that line at DA1
Yeah.
was trying to use an element in a list which doesn't exist. Like a list, the list has two elements, but we're asking for the third element. And what I realized is inputs to the last line on DA1. No, on top only, Stella, on add liquidity. If you highlight DA1 line, the line that has DA1, yeah, and the last thing that's there, it says inputs comma bracket 2. Right, so that's why my hunch started that something we are passing a list to that function called inputs, and that inputs should have 3 elements, but it doesn't. So now I went on top and I printed inputs to just see what is inputs like to begin. What is the
Yeah.
code seeing inputs as? And then when we printed, we saw it's seeing only 2 elements. It saw trader and comma phi. It didn't see the 4. If you go to, yeah, it didn't see any of that. So therefore, there should have been a third element which we weren't passing it. And then I thought about it, okay, like logically, we should add liquidity to both sides, right? Maybe 2 assets we're adding. One could be 0. You could add 0 liquidity, but it should know how much you're adding for asset 1 and asset 2. And maybe that's why I thought that something had to be wrong there. Yeah. So whenever you're adding or removing liquidity, ideally you have to tell it who is doing it and how much of asset 1 and how much of asset 2 have been passed. So the code was written that way, but the action list was not defined that way. The action list only had one thing, so the code was saying, hey, something is going wrong. But the more important thing about this whole procedure was how to debug. Like we saw an error, so we started printing, hey, like something was wrong with inputs possibly, so let's print inputs. And then that's how you start getting to maybe where things are going wrong. And I'm sure you all will get this. The more comfortable you get with Python, this procedure becomes pretty common. Like you have to just start printing things and seeing where things are going wrong.
No, but this is super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask, do you think that token engineers will be able to function without knowing Python?
I think so. I think from my experience, I mean, depends on what you're doing. If you're designing an entire ecosystem and you need to actually simulate and model it on a very deep level and personas and everything, then you do need Python. But again, you don't need to do it. You can be the person that studies the system, understands human behavior, understands game theory, like all of those things, comes up with some solution and then passes it on to someone who does it. So the procedure seems to be for me, like, because I'm currently working on a project and the person I'm working with doesn't know as much code as me. So the way we've divided it is that he does the business stuff and we discuss it. Like we come up with causal loop diagrams that, hey, when liquidity provider puts more liquidity, slippage will decrease, and because slippage will decrease, more people will want to trade in the AMM, like things like that, right? Like just the logic of how systems should work. If there are more buyers, more sellers will come. So you make the causal loop. And then the next step of building the stock and flow diagram or building the differential specification diagram, till then, you guys can still, like someone who doesn't know Python, can very comfortably do all of that. And then right after that, you pass it off to some coder who codes the system. So what you guys or anyone who doesn't want to learn Python needs to be able to do is to be able to get it to a stock and flow diagram or get it to a differential specification diagram. If you can get your ideas up till there, then your job is done because any coder can see that and possibly like convert it.
Stock and flow, what was the other one that you'd mentioned? The differential?
Specification.
Say
So
that one more
that's
time.
differential specification diagram.
Okay.
So that is more like it's a cat specific thing. It need not be the procedure through which you code every time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But differential specification is more it helps the coder understand that hey, these are the steps I have to take. Then I have to take these steps. Then I have to take these steps. Then I have to loop this again. Like so, it's a block. Like this block will keep on looping every single time step or something. That building that up till there, and maybe we can take a session because I really think that's where the core is. Like that's where the thinking really comes up till. Whether or not you can actually build the model seems to be how much Python you know, and that there are people who can do that for you. You can hire someone to just code, but the thinking is where the token engineering is, right? Planning the system, yeah.
That's what I was observing. I don't know, Stella, if you were going to say something, but I was just going to say that where I noticed the power of token engineers is in the thought process, the logic flow of your thought process, and how do you understand the various game mechanics of your ecosystem, or of whatever ecosystem.
Yeah, and therefore this stuff, even machinations, is actually basically very close to what CatCat does. Like you can actually do pretty much everything you need to do. So if you understand machinations, you're pretty much giving the coder what he needs to convert it, what they need to convert it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to pick one of the other questions? Or Stella, do you have another question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to solve this exercise, but I'm inherently bad at this, I think.
Yeah.
What exercise is this? Is this from our test?
Yeah, no, it's not from a test. It's just from the reading. You know, he tells you to essentially, okay, make this AMM, right, or make this Genesis state, and so I just put it down here again. Honestly, it's the same, whatever. And then create an action list that represents the following actions in this order. The trader puts 50 assets 1 to the AMN in exchange for asset 2. The trader deposits 25. Oh, so this is 25. Wait.
No, but
so all of this is the trader, right?
No, but also this is a different thing, right? Like you're doing add liquidity, but we need to do swap to asset 2 and then swap to asset 1, I think, or something like that.
Oh my god. Okay. I will think through this on my own again.
But you can you can do it there. So go down. So the first thing that you've written in the action list is add liquidity. You can change that to
no, trader puts 50 assets to the AMM. This is add liquidity, right?
In exchange for asset 2. So it's an exchange. It's a swap.
Oh. Okay. So
it's a swap to asset 2.
To asset 2.
Yeah.
Should I click this, by the way? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Doesn't change, yeah. And then traders doing how much of that? 50.
50?
Yeah. And so yeah, 25 doesn't exist. And the comma also needs to no. It just doesn't exist completely.
Okay.
And that's where I think it's a little bad code. Like, I mean, what we should ideally do is keep that the same. That the code should always expect 3 and you should be writing 0, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Doesn't matter. Swap to asset 1. And then trader does that for 25 assets. Yeah, and the other element is 0. And I mean nothing. You have to remove the comma completely.
Yeah. Okay, and I remove this because that's not
happening.
Existent.
Yeah. So now we run this and we run the evolve state. Yeah, and now at the end, the question is how much of asset one does the trader have at this point? So the last state, you have to look at the last state. Um,
That much.
yeah, yeah,
Ooh,
that's the right answer. I remember this one.
we solved
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay, so excited. Okay, I will try to do the next one by myself. I don't want to use all of the session for this, but this is quite exciting, to be honest.
Mhm.
Okay, so I really need to care for syntax errors, right? I need to care for key errors. If I don't know what the where the key error is caused, I just look at the line and I go to the function where it's caused. And to make
Yeah,
sure I make some sense of it, I put print right before the error happens, so I know
yeah,
what it is looking for that obviously it's not finding, right?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So then
got
you
you.
run the thing again and see what printed, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're like, okay, this is what inputs was, and the next line I tried to do inputs too. Would that make sense? And that didn't make sense because only had two elements, but we're asking for three elements. That
Okay,
makes no sense.
yeah,
So then you try to figure out where the missing element was, or was the code wrong? Like that's how you do it. Yeah.
got you. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
back to you, Strata.
Also,
Thank you so
also
much.
no, another thing I need to add.
Yeah,
If whenever you see an error, you can actually just copy paste that error itself
yeah.
and put it onto ChatGPT and say that, hey, this was the function, this was the error.
Are you
What do you think
serious?
then?
It can do that
Yeah,
as well?
yeah, yeah,
Strata, we don't need to learn coding anymore. We just need to get through this session because once we've understood the basics, the rest we can just ask to ChatGPT.
yeah.
It's a free
Or
coder for this.
Stack Overflow, or you go to Stack Overflow and you there was this. If you saw the error, it also had a button called Search Stack Overflow or something.
Oh, did it? No,
Uh,
I didn't see that.
yeah,
Okay, that's
so
good to
let's
know.
try that. Take action list and add another element onto it, and let's create that error out of nowhere. Yeah, yeah, and let's run that.
Sorry. Yeah.
So now search Stack Overflow is the button there,
You're right.
and then it just searches Google, and then you can look at the first one, let's say, and usually someone will have had that error, and they'll be like, "Hey, why is this happening?"
Huh.
Hmm.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I will undo this error. It makes me nervous.
It's like dauntingly red. Yeah. Yeah,
This
Strata,
is
you
great.
you had some questions, right? Let's look at
I was
them.
just gonna say maybe we can just even take one of the first question. Like it was the first exam question. It was like complicated, and I was going through it. And I went through it like several times, and I couldn't get it. I tried so. Hold on,
Yeah,
let's
okay,
just
okay, yeah,
pause
yeah, that's a
here.
good one.
Oh, first
Can
question of
you
the exams?
can
Yeah,
you copy can you copy paste it onto the chat here?
I'm gonna. I just don't even know where the
if
chat
you guys
window.
want, I can also pull it up.
No,
Yeah,
I think it's
here, I'll just
oh
put
yeah,
it
I
right.
got it. I got it.
This one right here. Did it come in the group box or did I put it in the
Yeah, I
wrong
got it,
box?
got it. Yeah,
You
you
got
got
it.
it. Yeah, so the question is,
This is the one with
Radhika?
the math first, right?
No, this is the coding. This is pure coding. Um, so the question is, let's define a function WF, which takes only integer inputs from 1 to 100, 1 to 1000. If the input is even, it will take the square root, then round up to the nearest integer. If the input is odd, then we square the number. What is the sum of WFT where t goes from 1 to 1000? Okay, so let me share my screen and I'll do this.
Yes,
Hmm.
that's a Rohan mission. That's not a Stella
Yeah.
mission yet.
It's not even an
Uh,
Adam thing too. That's old Rohan.
Yeah, I think so too. At this point, Rohan is the master of
I'm
this.
saying that DAO thing is a really freaking good idea. Trust me, I have a feeling of certain things. This would be a really
yeah,
cool idea.
That's that's
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
I'm just making a new one. Wait, what just happened? New notebook. Yeah.
Wait, let me read this again.
Yeah, I'll copy paste it here so we can see it on my screen.
Wait, Rohan, would you use for this specific case? Would you use the nice print function?
For the one I'm doing right now? No.
Yeah, to solve this question because it says integers and not
No,
like
no,
full
no.
numbers. Don't you?
No. The nice print is just to print it on, like, because normally when you print it, the dictionary looks kind of odd. I think nice print just makes it look nicer. It doesn't, and that's the function that Andrew defined.
Okay.
But yeah, let's just go line by line, right?
Okay.
So first they said, let's define a function. So let's define a function called WF. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm defining a function and I'm returning, what do we have to return at the end? Something, some number, apparently.
Yeah.
Sum, right? Like, so I'll call it the
Call it
answer.
mystery sum. Ah,
It's
okay. Fine.
yeah.
You can also say answer.
yeah, no, what? Mystery sum, right? Well, mystery. Am I spelling it right?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, cool. So we are defining some function that's gonna take something maybe. It takes only integer inputs, so it takes some inputs. So we call it.
So from 1 to 1,000. So isn't that a range?
Yeah.
Yeah. But on a for loop, right? So it first takes in inputs. If the input is even, we take the square root. Then so we're gonna take a number, right? I'm just calling it number. What we need to do here is first check. First step they've asked me is if the input is even. We are gonna skip this for now, which only takes integer inputs. And I'll explain. We can do that later. Let's just first make sure that we'll only send integer inputs just for safety. Huh?
Okay.
It's because you want to do that logic first of the even or odd number first.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah. So I want to first check if the input is even, then we take the square root. So I need to do something. If the number is equal to like I need to figure out how to figure out whether something is even or not, right? One way to do it is Googling. How can I check if something is if a number is even on Python? Or actually, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's use our AI stuff so that we get used to this. How to check? Okay, write a function to check if a number is even. Let's just actually see if it solves the whole thing. Just for curiosity, I'll go through it, but I'm super interested if this even happens. So let's define.
You know the right answer, Rohan. You've done this one. You know the right answer,
yeah,
right?
I can write it in 2 seconds.
Tell it to solve it in Python. He doesn't know it.
Right. Let's see if it figured out. Probably not, right? You can't figure out whether this is Python or not.
I think that one will be hard for it because it doesn't know what kind of programming language you're looking for.
Yeah.
So it might just.
So generally, the way actually to do it is this: y2 is equal to 0. What that means, this basically means is, if I divide by 2, will there be a remainder or not? That's what. Okay. So I can show it here. So like if I have 4, and I do this 4, 2, it'll give me 0, because when I divide 4 by 2, the remainder should be 0. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So ideally, what this should print to me is 0, and that either you figure that out by Googling, or you figure that out by. Oh, it did it.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
Oh, Zoom. My other button on here.
Oh my god.
Okay, so it took some t. It checked whether the t is like this is the statement that checks whether it's even or not, and it returns an integer with a math ceiling. So it rounds up. Ceiling does that, rounding up the square root, which is math.square root of t, and then else it multiplies with itself. Is that what we were trying to do? If the input is odd, we square the number. Oh, that's so crazy.
Put it in Python. Let's see how it runs in Python.
That's so insane.
I think you're absolutely right. We don't need to learn coding anymore.
Yeah,
Look at
forget
this.
it. I'll buy the highest subscription for ChatGPT.
Okay, so math is not defined because we've not imported it. So we just import it
Import
and now
math.
run it. That's great. No, this is the solution. This is the right one.
So, but did it solve?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's exactly it.
But
So-
wait a second. So okay. So this is interesting. So logically, then, anytime you run into a snag where but you know what? I think this can be a way for us to even learn the code because half the time we struggle to figure out, like you go through so many different
Resources.
just websites to figure stuff out. But when you can ask your own, AI, this is what they're saying. It's going to make coders obsolete. Some coders,
Yeah.
some.
No, yeah. I mean, not really. Like if you're building
No.
just complicated software, you can't. I don't see how it would make it obsolete, but it would make most of what we do with what we need code for currently. Like if you're trying to solve problems which you can't currently, like stuff like this, right? It's such a like how would you add 1 to 1,000 numbers, and how would you make sure, like how do you do this even like without code? But now you can do that with this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, see,
But
I thought it should be like a range function. I was pretty sure that there's like something that's called
no, you're
range.
right. You're right. You're right. Look at this. Stella.
Huh?
Look at that.
Yeah, never mind. I should just read. Okay.
No, you're right though. I mean, so that means you understood it. There are two things that it did. It created a function, right, where it's checking whether the number is even, then it does whatever it was told to do, or it multiplies if it's odd.
Yeah.
Because if it's not even, it will be odd. And then it created a variable called sum. Then it said that for t in the range of 1 to 1,000, put the t into this function here, calculate whatever comes out, whatever gets returned gets added to the sum,
Yeah.
and now we are printing sum. Let's see can you explain the code?
No, but dude, yes, get in there.
Strata is so excited
No,
right now.
I'm like, it's blowing my mind right
The
now.
code is wrong. The code is wrong. The answer is wrong though, by the way.
How is wait? But the answer is wrong now. But we had it like the answer was one
No,
triple six.
Yeah, our answer is right. That's the thing about language models. It'll give you a good the reasoning might be right, but the answer, like, dude, it's stuff like even I've seen it. I tried to solve some physics problems, right? And I was saying that how would I solve it? And it's like, oh, first do energy balancing, then use this function, then use that function or whatever, then use Newton's law or something. And every step of the way, the logic was correct. But then at the end, it said, therefore, 500 divided by 2 is equal to 225. Like it messed up with 500 divided by 2.
Oh my god.
That's
Okay. So you need. This is crazy. The fact that it's explaining the entire logic
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah.
No, but what does
Wait,
this tell
Rohan,
us,
can you just
right?
validate
Look
it?
at that, guys, look at that. Note that the math module is not imported in the code, so you need to import math module.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Wow.
So let's go line by line. Will that help?
I have to drop in like 2 minutes, but I got to get my kids
Yeah.
on the bus. But
Can you put this in the chat, Rohan? Can you
Yeah, let
copy
me
paste
just,
this
yeah.
for the chat? I think that
Yeah, I'll
would
take
be
a
really
screenshot.
good. No, but this is super helpful, and also
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see that my logic would have still been wrong because I would have started to define the range, and
Yeah.
then come up with the function. So I would have done it in the complete wrong order. So for me, ChatGPT will be most helpful in understanding that my perception of order is usually wrong. I mean, this happened to me like so many times in math exams, to be honest. I executed the stuff in the wrong order.
you know
So
what?
you're right about this. Like,
Remember the math that we were doing
Yeah.
in AMMs?
Yeah.
yeah.
Does ChatGPT some of the problems that like we've solved? I'm just curious because you know, like I had to go back and refresh calculus and algebra and stuff. I'm
Welcome
just
to the
wondering,
party.
yeah, I know, right? Does it work very well in terms of explaining concepts around
Yeah,
math?
yeah.
Great.
It'll
Okay.
explain the concept really well. You can't be reliant on it because it's a language model. It's not supposed to do that. But I've noticed that even complicated physics like when I'm saying complicated, I'm saying 11th grade level, 12th grade level physics problems. It can explain how to solve it very well. Like, hey, do this, then do this, then do this. It might, math will complete almost always be wrong a little bit. Like, it's 500 divided by 2, it'll get wrong, which is easy. But
Well, no, but you know, for me, like what it was, and I'll kind of time box this. I don't want. The thing is that when going back, when there were simple like things about calculus I forgot, right?
yeah,
I literally forgot how to do that, right? So I got my nephew's buddy from university to give me a refresher every week. I was paying them like just refresh my calculus. I'm like, okay, I got it all now, right? But
yeah.
that sort of refresher, okay, how do I take the like I'm pretty sure ChatGPT can help refresh my memory on certain things. That way I can,
It's for the workflow, I would suggest is you use ChatGPT to understand the concepts a little bit. Then check whether those concepts are right if you have the time, like on Google. I would say like do that. But it'll direct you to the right places. And also then if you actually want to do the calculations, you use Wolfram Alpha.
can use what?
Wolfram Alpha. Like
Wolfram
that's the
Alpha.
one we've been using so far. Wolfram Alpha. Yeah.
I'm put it in
Okay, I
the
don't know
chat.
what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that? Wolfgram.
Wolfram Alpha is
WOLFRAM, Wolfram Alpha. You can even ask Wolfram Alpha questions like, um, how many Rohans is the Eiffel Tower like in height or something, and then say Rohan is 6'2", and
Wow.
then it'll figure out like it'll answer stuff like that, like how many Eiffel Towers is the moon away, and it'll figure out what that is.
that is so cool. Actually,
Yeah.
this is a
Wait a second. Wait a second.
fun way of
I
writing.
I need for us to. Are we done with the recording for a sec?
Oh, wait.
Are we?
I
Can we
can
wrap it up?
actually. I think we're done for today. So goodbye.
Yeah, I think so.
We're having a private conversation now.
Yeah.